Hello friends, in this video I am going to discuss the short story Two Words by Isabel Allende. I'll discuss introduction to writer, her writing style and summary of the story, themes, character analysis and symbols. So let's begin the video. This is the text of the short story and will begin by introduction to writer and her writing style. She was born on August 2, 1942 to a Chilean parents in Lima, Peru. Growing up, she studied and mastered English as a second language and enjoyed reading Shakespeare's work. And she worked as a writer and translator and eventually created her own piece of literature, and much of Allende's writing focus on empowering women and portrayal female characters as strong and capable. And it is often said the pen is mightier than the sword, and this cliche alludes to the immense power of words. And we'll see in the short story and in her writing she discussed poverty, social problems, inequality, and her approach is feministic approach and empowering women, giving her power, and power of words is there, and she rebel against male authorities such as church, police, etc., and harsh political realities portrayal in her stories. So the summary, let's discuss summary. This is a story about Belisa, a story of creating a life for herself as a writer, and she grew up poor and hungry. And after four of her younger brothers and sisters died, because presumably of hunger, she decided to set out across the plains in the direction of sea, because there was a drought at that time, in hopes that she might trick death along the way. On her journey, Belissa found a newspaper and quickly decided to learn to write, and she figured that selling words would be best career. And one day she's sitting in her tent when someone named Almalato sends a group of men to nab her. Almalato is a soldier of Cornell and special person of Cornell, you can say, and feared by women and all of people around. And he tells Palisa that his friend, who is a colonel, he need her services. Trembling, she asks what he need. As it turned out, the colonel is tired of waging war, eating iguanas in the field, and most of all, he's tired of being a terrifying figure. So he want people to love him. The colonel plan to become a president, so he needs a good speech. Belisa agrees to write the speech for him. Since he cannot read, she recites it and everyone in the camp loves it. Belisa then whisper two special words in his ear and then leave. So we'll see what are these two words. The two words we'll see later on. Okay, and the colonel goes on campaign trail, repeating the speech again to anyone who could listen. As the days passed, the colonel began to decline. Eventually, the colonel admitted that the two words whispered to him are behind his emotions, and the narrator tells that his senses were inflamed with the memory of her feral scent, her fiery heat, and whisper of her hair and her sweet mint breath in his ear, fearing this is the work of witch. And Almalato finds Belissa and brings her to Colonel, and the man realizes that Belissa will not be killed as she walks over and takes his hand. And the story ends here, leaving us to wonder what the words were and what will happen next. The themes is courage, loneliness, gender. We'll analyze them. So courage is there. That female courage. You can say that Belisa, in a state of destitute and helplessness, she find courage and she show courage and determination and went out for survival. And loneliness is there, another important theme, and Cornell is portrayed as a loneliest person ever, and role of gender is also there in the society, how the male and female genders were discriminated. So uh, we'll see the main themes loneliness, courage, which tie in the overarching theme of gender and social construct. And we'll see one by one. And after her brothers and sisters died, she showed courage and heads into danger of desert. And this separation from her parents reflect a type of independence that was rare in her time. She didn't run off and cleave to a man. In fact, Belisa creates a job for herself, becomes successful, and stands out to be a prominent person in that society. And yes, interestingly, even though Palisa lives a solitary life, and she described her as being sad and lonely, and she is partner with her work and seems satisfied and fulfilled. And Cornell is described as loneliest person in the world by Belisa. And another specific theme employed in story is social construct of gender. This refers to idea that the world understanding of what men and women should do is created by society. One of the clearest way that dos palabras, it's a chilly word I think, and it challenges that this is the Belisawa who has most of the power in her interaction with the corner, and she is tied up with while writing. It's Belisa who determines when she is released by informing her captors that she is finished with the speech. At the end of the story, it's Pelissa who takes the corner hand and she decides to make the physical connection. And Belissa femininity is her source of strength, a trait that society more readily associate with men. And power of words is there, that words have immense power. Indeed, words have immense power. It is the words that influence people, and words help Belisa create a career for herself and help her provide for herself, and she made a business with the help of words. And Cornell was once the most feared man throughout the land, but with the power of words, he got a chance of winning the election, and many people started to like him. And Cornell became obsessed with two words that Belisa told him. And essentially, because of these words, he felt in love. So basically, you can see in the short story how he was got influenced by these two words, how these words influence his mind, and he has been completely changed. He transformed into a new being. So these words has got such a power that it transform life. And theme of love is also there. It's a love story again. Yes, it's a love story. She Belissa felt in love with Cornell, and the words, some the critics suggested that the words that she told to Cornell is "Ti amo," which means "I love you." So these words got created as such an impact that the Cornell totally transformed, become changed, and felt in love with Belissa, and at last they met each other. And character analysis, will see Belissa. She is described as a smart, wise, hard-working character and come from a very poor family, but has start her own business in selling words, and she worked very hard in obtaining her business. After she found out that it is possible to sell words, and Almalato, a scary, angry, loyal, rough man, and he's Cornell's right hand, and he searched the land to find Belisa to bring her to Cornell to undo the witchcraft. So it is the words that act like a witchcraft for Cornell, and that she had set upon Cornell. And Cornell described as loneliest person in the world, lonely, determined, sad, and a lot of power, but is fear throughout the land by all people living there. Cornell wanted to become president and loved by people instead of being fear later on, and he hired Belisa to write him a speech so that he become president. And so yes, she helped him and he become most loved candidate. Cornell become obsessed with two words they were said to him by Balissa. So this is character analysis, and now we'll see symbols in the short story. So the two words. So the two words themselves represents connection between protagonist and the kernel. Protagonist Balissa is the protagonist, and the two secret words that Balissa gives to kernel represents the connection between them, which in the end brings them together. And Belissa's name represents her family lack of wealth in the event that she had to search until she found the poetry of beauty and twilight and clocked herself in. And third symbol is words. Words in this story represents the way of life. Without words, Belissa wouldn't have a job. Without her job, she wouldn't have money to pay for food or place to live, and people wouldn't even able to communicate with each other. Words are one of the most important symbols in the short story. So yes, and we'll see the story portrays the example of irony. Verbal irony is there, dramatic irony, and situational irony. And the story as a whole is example of situational irony. Words are a method of communication and used to transfer information to one another. Therefore, a woman basing her entire life and wealth on selling words is ironical due to the fact that everyone uses them, and at no charge and no restriction on extremely frequent level. So irony is there. So this is a short analysis of the short story. Hope you understand. Notes in the description. Thank you for watching.